Hello.
You can move it around. Just go ahead and grab it to where you're comfortable. You can scoot up. You look good right there.
With my headset on?
Yeah, Sunday afternoon shenanigans. You don't have to have your headphones on. Just to let you know.
Okay. That might be a little bit better not to just leave them there.
No, that would ruin the thing. Yeah, but you also can't hear me if you don't have them on. So go ahead and try them on again. But you're going to have to sit up near your table. Otherwise, you screw up the whole jam. You got to get the mic right up in here. It's like picture yourself being a radio host.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to talk for you to test out your microphone.
Okay. I'm here. It's the first time I've done the podcast.
Tell me a story. Tell me about Barney.
Barney. I was really young, probably 5 years old.
That's how you're going to talk?
No, yes.
This
I
is
don't
how
know.
you're going to talk.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to be super loud like
gonna,
that.
Why not? You just get to turn you down. Go ahead, now talk.
Okay. I can't hear nothing.
Okay. That means you just get to talk. Where do you want it? If you don't talk right now, I can't set your settings for you.
Okay. I'm trying to talk, but I have no idea how much I'm going to be interacting with you or if I'm just going to kind of hang out.
Well, you're on a podcast right now.
I'm not nervous, but I know I'm not built for this. So
why aren't you built for this?
I don't know because
do you
I'm
love Jesus?
I do love Jesus, and
okay.
I can't earn nothing now.
Okay, well, I can turn this up.
Just a bit much.
Okay, this is why we're talking.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better. Am I really? How do I sound in your ears? Am I loud in yours?
No, you're fine. If you don't talk, I can't set your ears for you.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I always wanted a horse.
Do you like that better?
No.
Do you like this better? Do you like this better?
Yeah, that's okay. I don't really have much to go off of.
Yeah, well, depending on how far you want to be away from it. Some people talk like this up in the mic, and they talk.
Maybe I'll get really comfortable eventually and do that.
Maybe you can do this right here.
Maybe not right now.
Well, if the closer you get, you don't have to be very loud.
Okay. I'm not really sure.
Get even closer.
You're going to end up with lipstick on your mic.
That's okay. We've got Jodi.
I could have fun with this if I wasn't live on, if I wasn't being recorded.
It's not live.
Well, I know, but you know what I'm saying. Like if it was never going to be seen.
Well, here's the music, the intro. Jodi Brackett is in the house. We just got done with the Deer Classic, y'all. The Deer Classic in Peoria. It was a fun day. It was where I invited my wife to come with me to go see all my friends at the Deer Classic. And that is in Peoria, Illinois. And we did not get a booth because I am too busy. You ready to start the show?
Not really.
Okay. Awesome.
But okay.
Okay, awesome. I'll get rid of the music and yeah, so this is what I do. This is what I do for a living. I talk to the people. That is where they'll be able to see you. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How would you start this off if you were to start a podcast? I don't even know. Have you ever listened to a podcast? You listen to sermons, but maybe not a podcast.
Right. Only your podcasts.
You have listened to them?
Mm-hmm. I've watched them.
Okay. Well, I was just joshing with you. It is recording right now. We're 4 minutes into it, but I can edit this out if you're not comfortable. So I can edit anything out. I don't want to. I want to shoot it live.
Okay.
Those are the people that watch this, support this, and make this possible for us to sell them land and to do consults and to do all that stuff while you're able to take care of our moms. I work really hard at what I do. And this is part of what I do. So I'm appreciative of you being here with me today. I know I sprung this on you a little bit, but I think it's a good trade for the 30-hour sous vide steak that's out there right now, warming up for me to be able to put it on the grill.
Right.
And then I get to cook. You get to be taken care of today.
Yep.
In most days.
I was going to say, not just today.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I appreciate everybody watching, because that does truly, it gives me the opportunity to make sure I take care of my mom, who's 80, and his mom, who just turned 73. So,
well, yeah, but
got a lot going chickens.
On. Yeah, there's spring chickens.
Well, that's still very young.
It's very young. Okay. Welcome to Land Life, everybody. This is Chris Brackett's Land Life, and today it's Jodi Brackett's Land Life. Land Life is where we, it kind of spawned out of the fact that everything that I did in my life came back to land. I wanted to own land. I wanted to hunt land. I wanted to walk land. And my dream was always to own a piece of dirt in Illinois. And my dream before I died was to own 1,000 acres. And I don't know if that's still the same dream. I would love to own 1,000 acres, but to me, it's about having the right property and being able to do what I want to on it. And right now it is changing on what I want to do on my land, that we have our names on. For sure, fish might be my new most exciting thing, which kind of falls under lake life, which is the Herman Brothers side of growing the fish and doing kind of all of that. If you are not playing in the fish game right now, you need to get a hold of Herman Brothers Fishery, which is like Austin. They just had a new baby. What's his name? Come on, Captain Memory.
It's not Ezekiel.
Isn't it Zeke?
Yeah, it is. It's Ezekiel, because Zeke was on a blanket or something.
So, Austin and Maddie Bennett had Zeke. And so don't run Austin too hard right now, because he's dealing probably with some sleepless nights, but he's got a good basis for a family. I'm sure they're just loving it. It's their first kid, so shout out to them. Congratulations. But Austin Bennett running Herman Brothers Fisheries, they are full swing right now with spring being early. So that's a shout out to them. If you haven't played in the fish game, we now have built an acre pond, and maybe more than taking care of the deer and growing the deer and the turkeys and all that stuff, probably the best thing that I've ever done in my life. And almost makes me emotional thinking about it was my mom and my sister having to go with my mom to take me fishing. But my mom would sit there and grade papers. She was a school teacher, 4th grade. And I would literally fish for 8 hours a day if she would let me. Never pee, never ask for a glass of water, just fish and fish and fish. So as much as I like killing deer and as much as I like hunting, I loved the land and I loved the water of just being a woodsman. And so that goes back to fish are so much easier to manage than a white-tailed deer that you have to get to 4 or 5 or 6. And, even older as I want to progress in chasing the biggest and the best, right? And so this leads us back to if you have a property and you are looking that, hey, I want a pond. If you just have a ditch, just like we had a ditch that had tillable ground that fed into a ditch that had trees, and we contracted at the time. What do you say? It's Howarder, right? John Howarder.
Yep. And
then what is his nephew's name that actually did the work?
Was it Caleb?
Yeah, I think so. So they made me the most incredible dream come true. And Miss Jodi allowed me to make that call. You got to have a good wife out there. Make these calls, make these dreams come true, boys and girls. And so we just decided to take it kind of to the next level and put this pond in. We really couldn't afford it, but we knew that it would be good equity into the land, which goes back to the land life, which was we had a ditch. It had good water in it. It had walnuts and oaks and locusts and all these trees. We still have a lot of those stacked up for firewood and then even marketable trees. And so if you own a piece of property, I think one of the things that, one, we talk about on Land Life, and number two, we are both brokers in the state of Illinois for Herman Brothers Realty. Shout out for them. They make this happen. This podcast and us to be able to do what we do. And then being able to just like, do a consult and find somebody that says, I want a pond on this property. Tell me where to put a pond. I may not be able to build the pond myself, but with the help of Howiters, which is an excavation company, or, shout out to Kirk Martin and David Martin Excavating out in PA. They do some really fun stuff with ponds. And we always joke around that I want to drive a bulldozer, which I know that I operate machinery. I know I don't drive it. But if you hear me ever joke around about driving a bulldozer or driving a piece of equipment, it is to get Kirk Martin's goat. And that might be one of the most fun things I have in my life, is messing with my friends that follow me in the deer hunting and help make things possible on the deer side, and always teaching him. But then I really just secretly in my life want him to teach me to drive a bulldozer and be able to build my own pond. But we were able to put the pond in and then make it into a dream come true. No structure in it yet, but the fish that Austin and his team at Herman Brothers Fisheries have been able to grow there are growing fish. I mean, last spring at this time, the pond wasn't full, and we already have pushing 2-pound bass in one spring because when we had the new pond, the first thing we did was put in all the shiners and all the minnows and just overloaded it with bait fish. And then the bass they put in just ate the crap out of them. And then the crappie, and then the bluegill, and like 6 different kinds of hybrid bluegill and crappie. And then to watch them grow. And then don't skimp on the feed. We have a feed bill. We don't have any kids, so our fish and our deer are our kids. So we spent all of our money on our fish food, especially in the first couple of years, because it's kind of like watching Sam Solik or somebody, one of these bodylifting guys, put this protein into their body, and at a young age, like that guy's gonna be big for the rest of his life, even if my wife doesn't do social media, so she doesn't know who Sam Solik is, or some of these other influencers or things like that. But it's like it's like getting them on the fast track to be big, muscle bound, and as healthy as possible. We're not in a state that we can, feed mineral or supplement feed that like White Gold has, like they have their mineral side of the seed that I use, White Gold. And when they really smoke these fish and get them up out of the, get them growing, they're growing so fast that it's, you wish you could do that to deer. And so anyways, that's a little craziness about our lives and going that direction. But it leads us back to the land life. The land life is we would love to help you sell your land in Illinois. We're out of land to sell. How many do we have right now left to sell? We've got the 12 acres over here in Tazewell that I think we're gonna do some work on, put a pond in. We talked to guys at the Deer Classic in the last couple of days about getting kind of the eaters in there, the drum eaters, and getting rid of the brush except for the big trees. And then clearing that out, actually going down and clearing. We were showing somebody the property. What did they ever say? Did they say they were interested? They're just going to get back with us?
Right.
Okay. What we were doing was we were selling the person that came, and they were like, well, why don't you have a sign up? And really where we were was we were waiting for spring, because a lot of properties, sometimes I should say, the owner of the property, and in this case being of somebody that we know that we take care of their properties and manage, is the property is for sale and it is listed. And sometimes they go ahead and say, I would like to see the potential and essentially the juice worth the squeeze, the juice and the potential of this property being met, and seeing the dream come to fruition, even though it's not owned by a Brackett or a Herman. We can take somebody like Kirk or Doc Brown or whoever it is, right? And we can say, okay, well, we'll sell it today for this. But we're also in the game of Chris Brackett Game Changers, or Chris Brackett, LANDLIFE, being in the midst of building a eighth acre to a quarter acre pond, finding out, calling the Larry Lakes, having somebody, Larry Lake, having him come out and go, hey, there's $14,000 to $20,000 worth of standing timber here that you can pull out and still have a beautiful timber where it's not too roughed up. And then being able to go in and my plans for this 12 acres is to put in about an 800 to 1,000 yard long hiking trail through the long property, because it's about 386 to the back of this 12 acres, and it's in Pekin school district, and it's off Zion Road. There's 12 acres there. You can put a pond in the front, build a beautiful house, have a place where you can build a barn dough, kind of a garage where you could have, you could operate out of that because of the way it's zoned. There's really no restrictions. Groveland Township. And then I want to build a pond right there, and then a 800 to 1,000 yard long walking trail, similar to like a Fond du Lac Park District, where you could ride bikes on it and walk it, but you don't have to, not necessarily a 4-wheeler trail. And you could have some rec on there with being able to take a morning hike through and see turkeys and whitetails. Like, we found a 6 or 7 year old whitetail dead there that we had pictures of on the food plot across the street. I don't know what happened to him. When we had pictures of him in October, he had all of his tines. We just found him dead. Called Leo, or text Leo, our game warden, got a salvage tag. He said, go ahead and pick it up. I'll meet you later. Videoed it, so that's another thing. If you're in Illinois, if you're in one of these states, you need a salvage tag. If you find a dead deer, especially one that's significantly larger, like a mature whitetail, you have to have a salvage tag to keep that animal or to pick it up. So you should probably know your local game warden, that if you go ahead and either, for sure take a picture, for sure document, take a video to protect yourself. But technically you're supposed to get okayed and get a salvage tag before you removed it. So we actually end up finishing our showing the lady where we were going to make the trails, how to traverse through the property, the recommendations to where the trail would go, what trees you would take. We showed her the sycamore trees, and then showed her the elm trees and said, listen, this thing produces big yellow morel mushrooms. And she actually was like, what are you talking about, mushrooms? I'm a country girl, but I'm living in the city right now. What did she say to you about that?
She just asked what kind of mushrooms they were, and I said, morels. You've never had them?
Here, I'm going to put this over there because people want to hear your beautiful little voice.
Okay.
And if you're going to talk soft, you can talk up on the mic.
I'm so not used to this.
That's okay. It's okay. People are enjoying it. And I love that you're here because I have somebody to talk to. And as everyone would know, I'm really, my thing is talking.
No.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I didn't realize that.
So I'll just turn you up a little bit so you're good. You can just sit back. But while we were walking, I'm like, oh man, there's one of my giants dead over there, and took a video, showed that Jodi was there and showed the deer and showed where we were in relativity. And then went ahead and sent a text to him, the game warden, and said, hey, this deer's here. What do you want me to do with it? Can I pick it up? And I think that's the way that we should all handle that. Everybody knows my history with game wardens and whatever. I have turned over a new leaf in the fact that I think communication is the greatest thing in relationships. So I have made sure that my guy, he actually married a girlfriend of a lot of my acquaintances, a girl that I went to high school with that's friends with my friends group, right? And I know that she's sweet. And so like I know validating wise in there that he's going to be reasonable is probably by the book. And that's how a game warden should be, not like the Sandman or Jeff Bales. Jeff Bales. Where's my, hold on a second. Jeff Bales. And then it's like, or Jeff Bales. In record skipping, you know, like when we were growing up, game wardens had this giant shadow on them, but they were naughty. They were, that was the old days, the old regime, before social media, before influencing. They used to hunt you down. If they heard a story at the bar, they would hunt you down. And when I was 16 and I was hunting and maybe hunting after, you know, turkey season in Illinois only goes to like 1 o'clock. So, you know, if you're on a gobbler and you're 16 years old and he's gobbling, do you stop or maybe keep calling? I don't know, but I've never shined out the window with a spotlight. Even when I was young, I didn't like, it wasn't a total disadvantage to the animal, but if one was gobbling at 1 o'clock, I don't know if I would necessarily stop hunting at 1, but I had a tagging situation to where I had tagged a deer and Jeff Bales came to my house like 2 or 3 times at 6 in the morning and gave me a warning, even though I wasn't illegal. It was just like, it was a fun game for him back then. And I think that the same game warden, Jeff Bales, hold on. You know, Jeff Bales, was, you know, after your dad and after me at the same time.
Never caught my dad.
Jeff Bales didn't catch me either, Jodi. And now he's retired. And I see him every once in a while. Okay, enough applause, thanks. Now I see him at Gold's Gym in Morton if you ever want to run into him, just to let you know. Okay. Yeah, I mean, now he's retired and he's actually really good conservationist, but I think he really liked his job too much. I mean, that's
sure he did.
That's what it come down to. You get to chase the legendary outlaw Chuck Barnes and Chris Brackett, and that was your job, let alone probably, you know, I won't mention any names, but a whole bunch of people from Peoria County, you know, chase a loot off every once in a while. Who else would you throw under the bus? That would be a Ricky Ham, somebody that had a little attitude to them, and they were a good woodsman. A lot of people that probably frequented Norma's and Kickapoo or whatever. But I think we're off topic, but this is what podcasts do. But what a fun, I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole. How did we get on the game warden thing? Oh yeah. The dead deer.
The dead deer.
Yeah.
Talking about a listing.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
And you say, I have ADHD.
This is what I'm paid to do.
That's great. I'm happy.
Entertain you and entertain people.
Right.
And on a Sunday afternoon, drinking a glass of wine, I don't know if there's any place I'd rather be here. I love you.
Love you too.
4 months. I've been trying to get her on a podcast for 4 months. And if you followed me during the week, during the hunting season, I filmed one of these at least every other day. And during the rut, I went every day. And the 2 or 3 times I got her to sit down, she went, okay, I got to pee real quick. She had all this other stuff to do and never could just sit down. I said, just sit down. I'll do all the talking. I just want to feel loved.
Okay.
I just want to not be by myself.
Okay. I'm here.
Okay. So we finished the showing and told her about the vision of LANDLIFE, about making the trails, the ponds, hiring either like Howiter or somebody on this side of the river to come in and make the pond, plant the native grasses, mow everything, miscanthus. And then, you know, somebody could buy it right now, the 12 acres, and they would get the extra value, but then they would have to like do whatever they wanted to it, or,
right.
And they could see the vision out. If not, we go ahead and start working on the vision. Get friends, ask, Bryce or Luke Lugamil or somebody or the guys from Fence Line to come in and help clear the brush and help create the pond. And I think that's the most desired thing for me, is to have bros to bro out with and say, like, if nobody's showing up at my house or calling saying, hey, can I help with something? Can I drive the tractor and brush hog, or can I do any of these things? They're the same people that also tell me, I don't really have any place to mushroom or turkey hunt. And I'm like, listen, I cannot mushroom hunt and shed hunt and turkey hunt all my property. So if you're pitching in, you've got a place to mushroom hunt. Just make sure you share. If you get a big bag, split it up. Leave it here, and we'll take it to the moms. But I think that's where it comes back to, is back when your dad grew up and I grew up, like, you hung out in the garage and you all skinned and gutted deer together and cut them up together. And I miss that. So if there was ever a vision for Land Life, it would be broing out, men sharpening each other as iron sharpens itself. Like, what's it say? All men are created equal. Some just do extraordinary things. That's what you got to hope for. That's behind you there. So, anyways, that's what Land Life is. If you guys are just tuning in, this is episode 21, I believe. And our goal was to have 20 episodes. Jodi has an entire page full of things and fun facts from the Jurassic. Why do I say Jurassic?
I don't know. Just
because I had a lot of moonshine back in the day at Jurassic Classic, probably. And that's in Ohio, Cambridge, Ohio. Shout out to them. I'll probably never go back. I'm kind of not in that place in my life, but we did have fun at Jurassic. Concerts.
Good old Bobby Hart.
Good old Bobby Hart. Old shout out to Bobby Hart. He was always there. And Jurassic Classic was good to us, our Ohio fans and Pennsylvania fans of Fear No Evil and Arrow Affliction. Oh, that takes me back to, we got to do a podcast on, and this is what I was laying in bed last night thinking. I want to do a podcast on what we're going to talk about today, which is March 10th, 2024, the weekend of 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Deer Classic in Peoria, Illinois. Mark it on your calendars for next year. March. It was a good show.
Really was.
Yeah, you hear the Hunter podcast guys talking about the ATA and whatever. Probably the most disappointing thing to me is that shows have died. But our friends at Iowa Deer Shows, which puts on the Peoria one, they do it right. I still remember going to the Iowa show and having a booth there and grabbing my bow that I happened to have in my truck and winning the pop-up tournament 14 years ago. It's still the same guys running it. And the Iowa Deer Show promotion guys, they're the best. And they're putting on the Peoria one. And it's one to mark on your calendar, the Iowa Classic and the Illinois Classic. And if you're coming to the Illinois one next year, no one booked the Airbnb. They could have caught fish. I know they're paying for a hotel downtown Peoria, but you could have had like 3 guys running booths. You could have had like Kenneth Lancaster from Expedition Archery that I ran into. Shout out to Kenneth, because I've known him forever in the outdoor TV world, watching him on The Truth and talking to him about old times. Like guys like that are putting up 4 or 5 guys at a hotel to represent Expedition Archery or whatever. They could have been sleeping at the Airbnb and catching fish and cooking steaks on the grill. That's what you're talking about. But I had a subject that I wanted to say. I had such a good time at the Illinois show. And sometimes living in the world where I every Friday do consults on my computer, teaching people deer and land and food plots and what recommendations I have and all this stuff. I kind of forget. Maybe it's because you humble me so much, dear, in our lives, or just that life humbles you so much. I kind of forget how famous I was at one time. Like I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you walk around trade show and you got a hoodie on and you're just walking around being that 18-year-old kid that went to the trade shows and loved it. All of a sudden it's like, dude, are you Chris Brackett? And you're like, is this a good conversation? Is this a good, are you Chris Brackett? Or is this a bad, are you Chris Brackett? I would say 99% of the time it's a good, are you Chris Brackett? And I said, yeah, man. And they're like, oh, you're the reason I started bow hunting. You're the reason I started food plotting. You're the reason I stuck it out. I had a client last Friday from Texas. Texas, not even the Midwest, that was literally like, I listened to your podcast and I said to myself, if this guy's telling me to stay with it in December, I'm going to stay with it. And he went out and he killed his biggest buck on his own property. And we just had a great chat. He did a 2-hour conversation, a 2-hour consult online, which is the online platform of consulting that I do. And we just talked about how he just said, it was like, you helped me stay in the game to keep the faith. And so that is like that's a blessing. But I really forget. Like I was really famous.
I know. I was there.
But I get emotional because I'm confused like most men are as they grow into something that they wanted. Did they want to be famous? Like, did I want to be famous, or did I just want people to see my colors? Like, I see deer hunting and so if you guys haven't figured it out yet, figuring out whitetails, especially really big ones, turning dirt, putting things in the ground, looking at a piece of property and knowing instantly if it's an incredible deer property or if it's just okay, if it's going to fit your needs. Those are my superpowers. And those are so easy for me that it's almost frustrating when I can't communicate about it. So looking back, did I want to just be the person that had this depth conversations and this? I remember why I got into TV. I got into TV to be able, like my dad didn't go, he'd take me on vacation, but he didn't go hunting with me. So when I went out and filmed, even if I filmed somebody or I had somebody film me, I wanted to bring that adventure back to them. And I grew up watching In Fisherman and Doug Stange and I wanted to bring those adventures back. And I really want you to hold me accountable, and you guys are the best at it. This one should just get lost in whatever she's doing. But you guys will hold me accountable. Here's what I want. I want a list of series. I want to break down what it was like being famous, what it was like falling from grace, what it was like being put on a pedestal, and what it was like falling from the pedestal. And then what it was like knowing what you're supposed to do now rather than what you were guessing what you're supposed to be doing in life. And then like, I want you to have me tell stories about why I wanted to videotape and produce and how I didn't have a backing. I just didn't know the word no, and I wanted to create and paint my pictures. But that's for another series. Like today but that's you guys keep me asking for that. Hold me accountable and say, hey, this week I need you to do an episode and I want to hear how you got started, how you bought a $3,200 camera on a credit card, how your ex-wife was cheating. And those of you who don't know, I was married before, how she was cheating and how life wasn't good. And I did what the world told me to do out of high school and whatever, and got a divorce. And not because I wanted it, uneducated, unwise biblically, right? Is that what you'd say?
Yep, just not spiritually mature or saved at that time.
Right.
So the Holy Spirit wasn't refining you and sanctifying you.
Yep. That took us a long time for you to get over that, right?
Which part?
Just being married before.
Oh, no, that never bothered me.
Okay, what bothered you then?
I don't know. I'm just saying that never bothered me. You were young. I mean, we both had previous relationships.
So young, and so like...
I wasn't married, but...
Yeah, shame on you. At least I tried.
least I didn't get divorced. Just teasing.
Lots of truth there. Just teasing. But I want that. I want to be able to talk about those things openly. I hope you do this all the time. I know the people would love it because I know there are wives that watch this, because I don't know if you know it out there in social media world and YouTube and digital technology, Miss Jodi, that some people, like we still have cable. We probably shouldn't.
Yeah, we really shouldn't.
We really probably shouldn't pay like $9,000 a month for it, but we do right now. And, but there are some people that watch this on YouTube. The wives watch and the kids watch with the guy or the man or the husband or the son or whoever's watching. And that's on the YouTube side, but on the video that's on the video side. And then on the audio side, you've got Spotify and you got iTunes and stuff. And some guys just listen to it, which is, let me describe my wife. She's beautiful, blue eyes, brown hair. I look old. She looks like she just got out of high school. For everybody listening. She's killed a lot of stuff, but her brain resets every time we go hunting and she forgets everything she's ever learned, which, for some people that love teaching, that would bring incredible joy to them. Not me. I want you to recall all the bears, all the velvet mule deer. Oh, no, you didn't kill a velvet mule deer, but you killed a velvet whitetail.
Yes, I did.
No, velvet whitetail, hard-horned, wide mule deer.
It had a little bit of velvet.
Okay.
I have the.
Welcome to marriage, everyone.
That's the only reason I'm saying that I remembered it.
Was the entire.
No.
Okay, listen. No, hold on. What was the percentage of velvet on your mule deer rack?
0.5%.
Okay. Let's say 1%. Okay. To all the married guys, they're laughing. You're right, honey. He was in velvet. He was
no, he wasn't.
0.05 in velvet, and the rest, he would just came out. He was a big wide one. But she's killed mule deer with her bow. She's killed a circus bear. She's killed color-phased bears at Black Brown Lodge. Whitetails in velvet, which was a long shot, by the way. We should play that one as the podcast stuff turns more into a show. So she's been there and done that. But the funny part is that my wife lives in a fairy tale land where, because we don't have kids, she gets to reset her brain. And then every time we go hunting, it's more like, oh, what's this button do? What do I do when the buck steps out? And I think she does it just to be cute. I think she does it to bring me. I think she does it to bring joy. Do you do it to bring joy to my life?
Completely.
Oh, yeah. She could be an absolute assassin if she remembered. Do you think that that's your biggest downfall, would be the fact that you don't remember? Like I would say most men that are good hunters have screwed up and then remembered what they did, and they become better hunters because of it. I know that's what it is for me. And then I am in this race in life with you to heaven. And I look back and go like, well, don't you remember? And you're like, no, I don't remember where the safety is.
That's a little extra.
Do you remember right now? Could you close your eyes and tell me where the safety is on the Raven? Yes. You haven't shot your bow in 7 years. Could you remember how to do that and how to line it all up? Yeah, well, to a point. But it is not your highest of priorities. It does not keep you up at night, right?
No, nothing keeps me up at night. True. Very few things, I should say. Every once in a while.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Tell us what's on our list of incredible things that we saw at the Illinois Deer Classic.
Well, I met Tom and Frank from Tree Pros.
Tree Pro.
Yep.
You can speak up right up in here. Why don't you tell the world what Tree Pro is? Well, you met them.
They're tree tubes.
Okay. Go ahead and speak up. Project right up in here.
I'm not going to be able. I can't hear anything.
I know I turned you down so you'd talk a little louder. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, that's loud.
I know, just talk it up.
Okay, so
Tom
and
owns
Frank,
Tree Pro,
right?
and Morse. It was Morse, right? Morse
Yeah.
Nursery. They're out of Indiana. Tree Pro. They're great friends with Ray. Ray Reeves, which is our favorite.
He really is.
They are, right? You better give a shout out to the girls.
Oh, I love the girls. That whole family is incredible.
And so, it's one of them things where you have your boys, right? And Ray is my guy and all of his boys. And Jodi talks to the girls. But if Ray Reeves says somebody is good and they're salt of the earth, that's the best for me.
Take it to the bank.
Take it to the bank. And so Tom, I think it's Tom Hall, right? Okay. And so Tom at Tree Pro out of Indiana is the only tree tube that you should ever use. It is the ultimate. They have two systems. We have the flat ones because we bought it in bulk. Okay. So if you ever see anything on Instagram or any of our forums, or when you see Ray planting at Genesis Wildlife Group, you will see us only use Tree Pro tubes. And so on those Tree Pro tubes, they have a miracle tube, which is like, I think there's 4 or 5 that they're able to stack inside a larger one going down. That means it's self-contained. So when you're putting the tree tubes on, you don't have to put the zip ties. So we buy in bulk and we use the ones that come flat, and then you roll them. You put 4 or 5 zip ties on. We sometimes use the wooden stakes that you can buy with them, or we will use like not rebar. What is that? What is it that we use?
That's what I was going to guess, is that it was rebar.
Oh, no. It's a conduit.
Conduit. Okay.
Yeah. So like, the metal conduit, like, okay. So the difference between using a piece of rebar and then using like conduit or, whatever you put electrical wire through in a house, I just buy those tubes. They're like ½ inch. You go put them in there. If you hit them with your brush hog, let's say like a deer gets a hold of it or it falls over, you mess up with a brush hog. Yeah. You're not going to ruin your tractor or your blade. But if you cut through the conduit, like it'll go through it and you'll know like stop, shut it down. But if you hit a piece of rebar, forget about it.
Bad deal.
Yeah, you're breaking the mower. So and then Frank was like tree expert. Like he did. Like I think he would be really good because Ray can't get all the way out here. But I'm thinking of places like Chris Wing. I want to plant some trees at his place. I'm thinking about Brad. Like Brad's place up north, and in Wisconsin, I think of Brad Smith's place would be an incredible place to start planting. Well, I was talking to Frank about chestnuts and things like that, but he does a lot of grafting that Ray doesn't do. Ray plants a lot of trees, but a lot of rootstock, and then Frank would be more like grafting trees. Do you know what grafting trees is?
I just learned that from them.
Okay, tell us about grafting trees.
I'm not going to be able to recite it. I just know that you like
what do you do?
Slice it, and
you're slicing and dicing trees,
and then you put a little sliver of it in there, and then you wrap it with some tape.
Scoot on up here and talk right in the mic. I'm trying to move it as close as possible.
I should not have opened my mouth. I should have just nodded and said,
"No, I want
tell me more."
Tell us about grafting.
But I don't know how to explain it. I just said, I know that they cut it and there's like a V, and then they maybe put something else from the other tree in it, and then hope that it kind of
what?
Marries together and creates the type of tree that they're trying to graft in.
So you're telling me that they could take, like, let's say a very hardy stock like an oak or something, right? And it could have the roots, right? And they could transplant, graft a little, let's say an apple or a peach or a pear or a hybrid of something. And they can graft what? The top of this tree or a branch into that, right? Did you understand anything the guy was saying?
I did. I just didn't know where all the pieces exactly came from. But he was talking about a peach tree.
Okay, take a peach tree.
My gosh.
Take a peach tree. Tell us about it. Tell us about it. Like,
it was just a peach tree that he found on 20 acres that they had bought.
Okay.
And
the peach tree that he found was a wild peach tree, right?
Right.
And the genetics.
There was originally another peach tree that was planted by the guy.
Okay. Long time
and
ago.
It died.
Let's say 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, I have no idea.
And he was telling you something, because I overheard it, about that peach tree propagating in the soil and growing a new peach tree, right?
Yep, that was wild.
Wild peach tree from genetics a long time ago that survived hundreds of years, essentially.
Okay.
And he wanted to keep those genetics alive.
Because they were really good.
He tried it, right? And he said it was bland or whatever, this and that, but that's okay. It survived, and it showed that it survived all these generations, right? So what did he do? Did he tell you?
It.
He cut it, kept it in water, and kept it alive, right? Then he took the roots off of another plant that was solid plant, because sometimes fruit trees aren't always as good on the root stock, right? But some other trees are. So then he cut that tree. Picture a groove, tongue and groove. You know what a tongue and groove, like, in a house, that tongue and groove, you cut that into the tree. You then take the peach and you put it with the other tree. Now ask me if I've ever done it.
Have you ever done it?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
I am just repeating what experts have told me, and I love to do that. I'm not a parrot, but I'm telling you how I understand it. So tongue and groove, and then they sometimes saran wrap and use technical tree stuff, and they lock it in there.
Yep.
Essentially what the tree tubes do to growing trees, which is just lock it up. Lock it up, Clark. Lock it up. And then that tree grows together like a new limb or a new kidney or a new heart. And then that tree grows, but instead of it producing from the roots, it produces from the tops. And then the top will produce that same peach tree.
Wow.
And then now they can keep doing that and keep that tree's genetics alive. Isn't that incredible?
That's really incredible.
Which is why I love trees. And if you're listening out there and you're younger than 46, go start buying trees. Here's what I talk to them about. Whether it is Ray Reeves from Genesis Wildlife Group, or if it is Frank from Morse, and it involves Tom from Tree Pro, I believe that I am going to put together some type of campaign, and I am going to send every online client and anybody that asks out there, I believe that they should buy 50 trees a year, 25 and 50 and 100. Because I don't want it to be a daunting task, and I don't want it to have them have to plant like you behind my tractor on the tree planter. I believe that anybody could get their group of friends on their land and go out and plant, let's say, whitetail varieties that are going to help the equity, build the whitetail equity on your property, and plant these 50 trees with these 50 tubes with this conduit or this wooden stake. And they will be planting heritage, legacy. What does Ray call them? He calls them like legacy stock. And that's what we're doing to our farm. Like, we're never going to see these things mature. We will be dead and gone and in heaven, and there will be somebody enjoying these trees. Please, anybody that buys our farm one day, do not cut down these trees. These are blood, sweat, and tears right now that we're putting in. But I want to put together a 50 Tree Pro, Tom's Tree Pros, 50 tree bundle, whitetail bundle, and put them together and send them through the mail or have them pick up to every landowner that's listening across America. I challenge you to plant 25 to 50 trees with the Tree Pro tubes. Can you explain to them the Tree Pro tubes, what they actually do? Like, just don't overthink this question. What have I explained to you that the tubes do for the little rootstock tree?
Well, is it?
Protect them.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a secret. Protect them.
Yeah. And let the sunlight in and the water.
Act as a little baby greenhouse.
Right.
And then like, so the whitetails will eat, right? And so the tree tubes are 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think 60 inches. I want to say 60 something inches.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what the deer do to eat those bottom limbs as they come out of the tube,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to keep growing to the sky. That's a whole nother thing I talked to Frank and Ray about, was that people have to prune their fruit trees.
Right.
I'm not even getting in the weeds on that because I understand it, and I could probably, I mean, I've pruned ours out front, but it's not my specialty. I'm going to somehow bribe Frank with like a steak or something to come here and like prune the trees, because we know that the 50 Dogel crab apples that I bought from Ray and we got from Ray. So around all of our clover plots and one of our soybean plots, we have 50 was the first round. I think we have closer to 100 and something Dogel apples. And I know we have 100 pear and plum. Every one of them has a tree tube around it, and it is the only way to have 90 to 95% success in growing these things. So if you're planting any kind of tree and you're not putting a Tree Pro tube around it, you're missing the game. You're missing the boat, right?
Absolutely.
What else do you got to add to that? So that was Tom and Frank at Tree Pro. We're at the Illinois Classic, by the way, Illinois Deer Classic. And then what else?
Full Clutch. We saw the guys at Full Clutch. And you bought your, yep.
So Full Clutch, these guys. So when you are famous, people just, I'm new to this influencer game. I don't really know how to capitalize on it, which if I did, I could probably buy a different farm. Yes. If I could realize how these girls show their feet at feetonly.com, or I don't know what they do. But I wish that I could influence. If influencer was a thing back in the day when we didn't really have cell phones and I was super famous, we could buy 1,000 acres.
Or a beach house.
Or 1,000 acres and a beach house.
How about both? Yeah,
okay,
that'd be great.
So I bought this call today. Let me tell you a little story. This is Full Clutch, right? Isn't that the boys? Two cool dudes, man. I have no affiliation with these cats, except for the fact that I bought their call. I really thought they were great. I really thought they had the gumption to be able to come to shows and do cool stuff. I think they're pretty local, right? Where are they from?
I forget.
You normally find out people's underwear color. You're so involved in their life for at least 15 minutes, but you didn't know where they're from.
I was a little more reserved today.
Oh, good. I like that. But we were with our friends from, we work with all kinds of real estate companies. Like, we are brokers in Illinois with Herman Brothers Realty. Like, we pretty much run that side with our little team, Danny, his wife, and me and you. And but I don't think. Well, newsflash: did you guys know that I'm not normal? I don't look at anything normal. I don't see the world normal. I don't communicate normal. But we do work with all of the realtors. Don Wagner, right? Then you just closed on a property with him, right? And then who else was there from his little team? He's got another partner. I think he works with all the guys. But Don's really good at, he's got that right brain. He really gets that right brain, photography, trail cameras. Those are land guys. We don't hate them. They're our competition. But when you're crazy and when you see everything a little different, nobody's your competition. If we want to do the job that we're set to do with the right people that want to buy my brain to represent them, then there's no one that's our competition. So that means that everybody is our friend. And Don Wagner's our friend. And we saw Cabot. We saw him today. And then Trig today, right? And, all my friends. Who else did we run into? Oh, yeah, like Rod Shepard. He's at Whitetail Properties.
Nick Hackney.
Nick Hackney, yeah. And so that's Trig's dad.
Okay.
And so that's why I was
I didn't know
joking.
Trig. I forgot that.
Well, we were turkey calling together today.
I remember. I just didn't know his name.
I got calls sent to me for a long time from a lot of people. And if I had to, turkey season's coming up. And we were just talking about, all these people we work with. And you got Nick, right? And so Nick brought his family up from down south, and we met them. He brought a buyer for one of the properties that we had bought in
Cass County.
Cass County. And that's how we met Nick and his family. And so my man's a firefighter and first responder. Hats off to that line of work. We have a lot of friends that do that. And those seem to be our style of people. Those are people that live real. They're the people that don't patty cake a lot. So Nick Hackney and then his wife and their daughter and son, and then the sons, he's a wild man.
Yeah.
But he was already turkey calling. We were doing little J hooks. And I was teaching him, I was like, it has to do with how the striker, how it hits whatever it is, right? And so we were having a good time. So anyways, we bought this call, full clutch calls. And what they really sell is kind of this holder. And this holder in your striker, I know that I would never tell you because you kind of fall in that wife category, but you don't really care how much money I blow or spend or whatever, because I make the investments. That's my job in this line of work in this family. So you don't really blow your mind over me leaving a call in the woods or whatever. But do you know how many strikers and calls you guys can hear that on? Do you know how many strikers and calls I've left next to a tree because you smoke a gobbler or you hear one gobble and you leave it there. And I know you don't worry about the calling because you're always guided. But you do leave them. And these guys from Full Clutch have made this little really, this is a really kind of a tacky rubber holder for your slate call with a bungee little cord and a magnet to keep it up tight. And then you've got this striker holder too. So, they gave me some like run and gun stuff for around my neck, but this is to be attached to your turkey vest. So even if you jumped up and took off after a turkey, you're going to be dragging this behind. You're going to stop. You're going to put it in your vest. And this thing's going to save you money, whether you buy their call or you're using a different call. Shout out to them. These are some young guys just giving it a go. Smiles on their face. I told them, enjoy the ride while you're building a company. At the top, once you have it, it's established. It's kind of a grind. So just smile right now while you're building this. Those are the last guys we saw on the way out, and they were packing up. That reminded me of the old days. What do you guys say about that? What do you think?
I mean, turkey hunting is my absolute favorite. I'm kind of over deer lately.
Let's hear your turkey call.
No.
Come on. I'll entertain everybody while you turkey call.
Remember?
Let's hear it. That's not bad. That's all you're giving us?
Yeah.
What? That's it? Just give us another one.
Purr.
Just do a little purr.
I can't. That's one
Come
I
on.
haven't mastered.
You can do it. Speed it up. Just speed it up a little bit. A little lighter. Just let it. Oh, there it is.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay.
I did kill one that I called in all by myself.
All by yourself.
And I blew his face off, and it was a rush. I thought, what's going to go wrong? He came from so far across that field. And I actually did.
Did you guys hear that? She went, I don't like podcasts, and then just blowing it up. I blew his face off, man. I did it all by myself. So tell us that story about your turkey hunt, why you love turkey hunting. Was I turkey hunting or was I working or what? It was at our this comes back to land life because Aunt Jodi was on her farm that has her name on it at her original piece of dirt that we owned together, but her name was on it. It was our first investment. We were together we bought a house, had a piece of property, had turkeys and deers. The first time that I ever realized that you could grow big deer and not have a lot of property. Probably the first thing. I would say it was the flip property that we developed and sold. I mean, you made all that money because we broke up, but yeah, I mean, we developed that thing into food plots and brought these deer from a long ways. You were sitting there and you said you heard them, and it was like 11 o'clock, and these birds always wanted to be there at noon.
It was all nice and warm, and I was slouched down like you taught me against the tree.
Yeah, so you can rest that gun and then get it up and not be knee. Yeah, you're just kind of resting against the tree. Yep.
It was great.
Little bitty food plot.
But it sounded like a dying hen when I was calling. There's no question.
Well, and that brings us back to, maybe we can write it down for another episode. What have I always taught you about the call? A turkey call. Go back to something my dad would say.
Bok, bok, bok. They come running right in.
Which is, that was my dad. He's passed away. But my dad would always say, my dad might have been the worst turkey caller ever. I bought him every push button call, and he had every call, and he loved turkeys because he could just hang out in the middle of the day. And he always said, one time, game wardens can't come after him right now. He's gone. But one time, he had never seen a turkey strut. He had killed all these turkeys, and he always just got lucky he was in the right spot. Imagine that. Like, he had a son, and probably put him in the right spot, and a turkey would just end up coming in. But he had never had one strut in front of him. So one time he went down to our farm down in Adams County. He waves at the guys working on the barn. He drives in. He gets his flock of decoys that he had, all these mismatched decoys, and he throws over, and he takes his little Beretta gun in, and he sits by this. He always hunted this one finger every time we deer hunted. And he was sitting by this little pine tree, probably out in the open. He said he put up all these decoys, and my dad loved to smoke, and he'd smoke his little cigarettes and bop, bop, bop. And he had his little push button call, and he would bop, 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 use this little push button. There was these big black blobs down there, he said. I looked down there, and there was these big black blobs down there. I thought somebody's cows got out. And what he was describing was these big turkeys were strutting at the end of this field, and I think there was at least 3. There could have been 5. And he had one tag. And balk, balk, balk. He starts calling on this call, and these suckers come 300 yards down this field. This is all story, so I'm not with them. And I think all of them come in. And he ends up shooting one, and didn't know if he hit that one. And by the end of the smoke cleared, there was 3 of them dead, is the story. And I was not there. Just to let one, statute of limitations is up. Number 2, he's dead. You can't go after him. And he would be laughing, telling this story. Well, he would laugh. He would laugh. He would be sitting here. He'd have he would have a drink in his hand, and he'd have a cigarette, and he'd bop, 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 and he'd take over the story, and he'd pass the arrow, and he'd tell the story. But he did not mean to shoot more than one turkey. But when the dust cleared, my dad had just made up for like 2 or 3 years of not filling a tag, and he had turkeys laying all over the place. And I know that when I talked to him on the phone, he was like, "Yeah, I've got these turkeys." And I said, "Turkeys?" I said, "You got a tag?" He said, "Yeah, I got these turkeys." And I'm like, "What are you going to do?" And he just, he ate them. It wasn't a waste. It was, to him, it was like, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. He wasn't trying to do anything. If we probably would have known a game warden back then, he would have probably called him and been like, "Yo, I didn't mean to do this."
Right.
And yeah, but was one of the funniest days where he just come. I thought they were cows, big black balls, look like bowling balls at the end.
That's what I remember.
And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, like, you never seen one strut." And he's like, "Well, I've seen them strut now." And he's like, "They weren't strutting when I started firing." And he killed them with his Beretta. But Dad loved turkey hunting. You love turkey hunting. What do you love about turkey hunting?
Well, it's usually warmer.
Okay.
Even if you can't see them, you can hear them. You can get up and spot and stalk and crawl on your belly, and it's just more exciting to me
Because of the back and forth? Like
part of it's that, and my heart just thumps out of my chest
when
every
you can
time.
feel them, like when you can feel them spitting.
Yeah.
And you know they're coming. You know they're under 50 yards.
Mm-hmm. But you taught me early on that just when you think everything's going to happen the way you want it to, then that's when they do something messed up.
Those little dinosaurs, those little turkey dinosaurs with those big giant spurs on their head. And my eyes going crazy twitching. Like some of the most fun that you've had turkey hunting is with Wade. We haven't talked to him in years.
Yep.
He's still one of your favorite, right?
Yes, he definitely is.
Wade and Jodi wants to come back to Iowa. Go turkey hunting. So we used to go with Wade. We would always see him on the H&S videos back in the day. And Wade Saman, and his brother was never nice to me, but Wade was always incredible. His brother was never, I don't know if his brother was nice to Wade, but we kind of stayed away from him because his brother said some mean things to me or whatever. And I don't know. People have hard times. We've had hard times. I've said things I don't. But Wade has never done us wrong. I know you have a special place in your heart for him and his daughter, right? And his wife.
Yep, Janice and Cody, I believe.
And we haven't talked to them in decade.
Been a while.
8 years. So Wade, if you're listening, or any of you guys in Iowa know Wade, tell him we still care, and tell him Aunt Jodi would love to stop on over and see him. Madison County over that way in Iowa. So we covered the calls. Good luck to you, full clutch boys. If you guys are looking for a good call out here, I didn't go with the fancy glass or anything. I bought me a full clutch, just straight up slate call, with just a regular good striker. And I wanted to support those guys. And that's where I was going with the story was these guys reached out to me and said, can I send you one? And I said, well, I don't want to be under pressure of what I had at one time with television. I didn't want to have to perform or promote because somebody gave me something.
Right.
And so I just politely and very shortly was like, no, don't worry about it. It's not because I was with another call company. I just didn't want to take, I know how hard it is to make that money. I know how hard it is to invest your money in a piece of land or a product or to go out there. And I just kind of told them no. And it's funny how things work because there wasn't that many call companies. Never thought I'd see them there. And then we're just walking by today and they say hi. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm like, you can throw in a free hat, but I am buying a call. I am going to spend my hard-earned dollar here for what you're doing and say, thanks, man. Thanks for offering to give me something. And really, he knew how much you loved turkey hunting, and he wanted me to give it to you. And I didn't throw you under the bus, but I will now.
You won't throw me under the bus to two people, but
just the rest of the world. Just the rest of the world. She don't do her own calling, and she won't get her turkey stuff ready till the night before. I'm just here to tell you. She's a little distracted. She never really had to grow up. But when I call her in, it's like the bullpen. I call her in to do contracts and whatever I need her to do, but the rest of the time, she might as well be retired. But that's what you wanted when we got married, isn't it?
Well, I didn't want to work if we had kids, but we didn't have any kids, so.
We have deer.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have squirrels. So shout out to the Full Clutch boys. If you guys are looking, go to the Full Clutch on Instagram. Anyways, enough about those boys. And then Rotten Richard. Tell us about Rotten Richard. And I'll hold it up here for the YouTube viewers. Tell us about him.
Well, he makes I don't want to say.
So for years, I did a stick and pick, which was I'm a big advocate in having, this is what we got. This is a trail camera holder, okay? And I've been telling Bryce and everybody else, listen, stick and pick was made in a garage. And stick and pick is very fancy. But I remember they were made out of rebar. All they did was hold a trail camera at 4 to 5 feet off the ground, and you could put them in the middle of the field. And trail cameras, guys, have IR, infrared technology. Infrared is what lights it up, and you can see it on the camera. And deer actually don't like infrared. So if they're pressured deer, they will really react to infrared. But here's the big but. Infrared is one of those things that if it is freestanding using this, and his website is what is it?
RottenRichard.com.
Which is funny. It's probably just starting his garage with his buddies and was like, call Rotten Richard, man. So RottenRichard.com, ROTTEN Richard.com. It is a freestanding base for a trail camera holder. Now, the reason why you want to buy a stick and pick, or like what Richard did here, which was, name's Rick. What Rick did here was just take some metal, weld it up, and get a freestanding system for a trail camera. If you can afford the stick and picks, go for it. Most time they're sold out. They've made the big time. They're pretty expensive. I'm looking for a deal. I run 50 to 100 cameras a year on within my farm and my friends and my circle. And I want to put every one of them not on a tree. There's some Brackenese there. I want to put every one of them on some type of stick and pick or some Rotten Richard freestanding trail cam holder. I know Tacticam makes one. I don't have one. I'm not in cahoots with them. I wish I was. But this one we saw at the show was like $25. Check them out. Like they're $25. They're freestanding. So when you have an infrared camera, whitetails will see the camera. They will see the infrared from across the field or very close. Sometimes they get startled. If it is on a tree or in the brush or in the tree line, the deer actually think, oh, what is in there making this infrared that I can see with my eyes, right? Because they have different rods and codes than us. And so they see it. So when they see it and they hear it, they look in the brush and go, oh my gosh, there's the boogeyman. When it's freestanding and they can walk behind said camera in the dark, because at night they're nocturnal animals. They just kind of walk all over and they're inquisitive and whatever. If you have a freestanding situation with a camera and you come to my farm, whether it be the lease or a farm that we have, you're going to see all these stick and picks everywhere. And now you're going to see these Rotten Richard little stands here that are simple, but they will hold your camera. Because if a whitetail sees the infrared, smells it, and he can walk behind it and see behind it, now it's just like it's non-threatening to him. And he's just gonna go, oh, okay. If he sees that enough, he's going to say, these things aren't a problem. I don't care if it smells a little bit like China. I don't care if it smells a little bit like Uncle Bubby's hands or whatever, but he's going to be able to walk behind it and not freak out. That's your deal. So big shout out to him. He actually, I don't take many freebies. He gave me a couple freebies. I don't even know if he knew who I was. I forget sometimes that he probably did. But I tried to pay him. I literally tried twice. You were there. I don't care what you people think if I did or didn't. I'm not selling you on that. That's, by the way, it's a joke. That's my humor. But I did. I like, hey man, let me give you some money for these. Like, he's like, no, I want you to try them. They're actually a double top. They're actually, you could put 3. Like he simplified it. So see the top one? Point at that top one there. This top one, you could put that in the back of a camera. Okay. And then those other 2 you could put in the bottom. So you could put 3 cameras on this thing.
Wow. And
the ones I ordered 100 that we'll pay for. But I ordered 100 of them because I knew my land clients. Here, you help me down with that. Between our land clients and Kirk and Joe and everybody, I just said, hey man, make us 100. Give me a break on the price. And then I don't know if we'll put them online at the store as we build Go LANDLIFE or something, like our website. But either way, I knew out of 100, and we could buy them at a good price. We could either offer them through, our store or whatever. But mainly it was like, I know between our real estate clients and our management clients, probably have to order more. Because we can buy them in bulk.
Right.
Anyway, so big shout out to Rick. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I know it had been a long show, and we appreciate you being at that show. We have no affiliation with the show other than that we're fans of going to the Illinois Classic. And then what else do we have?
And we love John.
Yeah, John.
That's the affiliation.
And well, I don't know if we actually love John, but we really appreciate John and having the gumption to still do Iowa and Illinois shows and keep the legacy alive. And I know the girls behind it too at the iowashows.com. I mean, Iowa Shows, like that's what their company's called, I think. They're out of Iowa. So they've got that backbone of America. They've got that red running through them. They've got, the entrepreneurial spirit still, and love the shows and the big whitetails. I mean, they own Mel Johnson's buck. They own the Johnson buck. It was in the corner, and talk about some big deer at the Classic this year. Even though it was a non-growing year, you could see, what I noticed about a lot of the deer that were turned in this year, they were super heavy. Some of them were score machines, but they were super heavy, super dark, which tend to be a bad growing year, but some of them were just monsters. And I can't imagine on a big growing year. And one of these years we're going to have one. I think this year's going to be a drought. I think this year's going to be perfect for white golds. October Magic that we just made. Sorghum will grow through the drought. I think it's going to be a drought this year. Coming from Royce, the farmer taxidermist extraordinaire, we think it's going to be a drought. And that's for probably another topic. But John and everybody at Iowa Shows, it was great. We have 2 friends that were there. This on your list, right? We were trying to think of just how to talk about the show. And if you've never been to a deer show, come in, stay at the Airbnb next year and, go to the show with your friends. Come in with a group of guys. It's pretty cool to see these Illinois whitetails all hanging up around you, and then go around and eat some pickles and eat some cinnamon sugar apple cider donuts. And we were visiting with Tim Sisk. He's the 360 dealer. So when a client wants a 360 blind, we send him to Tim. He's our real world dealer. I have a love-hate relationship with Don Higgins. I love half the stuff he does, and I hate half the stuff he does. But I believe as 2 people going to heaven and brothers actually in Christ, you can disagree. We spent a lot of money with him through Tim.
That's for sure.
Yeah, we kind of gave up our dealership. We were going to be a Miscanthus dealer, and it was just too much commitment. Too much commitment for what we're going through in this season of our life. So everything we do through Tim Sisk on the real world side. We're white gold people. So when I get my main seed, but if I get my soybeans for clients or myself, we're going through Tim Sisk. He's our real world dealer out of Groveland, Illinois. And then Tim's our 360 guy. So we got a couple 360s for some clients and put them up, and Tim's our guy with the 360. So we hung out with him and Jill and saw Chase from Texas, trying to wish he would come back and work for, me and our company and Tim's company. And we help him stall Miscanthus and be Mr. 360 guy. And, his dad wants him home a little bit, I think. He's a hockey player. You'd like him. Yeah, you'd like Chase, the hockey player. And then I forget his buddy's name. So shout out to his buddy, even though I don't remember his name. He's got a cool story about a buck that he almost killed and then he found on public ground, which is really neat. I love those stories. And then Seth Burnham, his whole family is supporting him there. If I didn't buy a 360, his next generation blinds are pretty good. They would really be a toss up between the two. I think I really like the 360s, but I do know they're a little more expensive than the next gens. In a dream world, I think I would have both of them on that front food plot at the house and then hunt both of them and to see what I like. But I think out of all the blinds on the planet right now, those 2 are my favorite window systems, the 360s and then the next gens, because you can see out of them and then you can move them up. Like you don't have to flip the window up.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Jury and all the jury guys flipping those windows on those muddies and all that stuff. Not me. That's for the birds. No way I'm going to try to get away or even risk that with a giant whitetail. No way. No way.
Mm-hmm.
We're hunting Illinois deer. They're too spooky. You don't have room for that air. I want to be able to slide a window up, slide a window down, pull on a counterweight.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking for a blind, look up both of them, the 360s with Tim Sisk, and then Seth Burnham. He'll come work. He'll come put them up. He's got his brothers. We love his whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only one we really have left, and we mentioned him earlier, was Kenneth Lancaster. Expedition, right?
Yep.
Expedition Archery. Haven't seen him in forever. He's an OG like me. He's been in the outdoor industry for a long time. He's helped develop a lot of products with Primos and The Truth and with Will Primos, and he's done his own thing a lot. And this is what I got to say about running into somebody from the AKA industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? The hunting industry in its prime, been through the best of the best.
Right.
Probably had more success team-wise with friends, but I bet he's got his own horror stories of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because anytime you're on it, you have too many personalities in a world full of prima donna,
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic TV show, anything where your likeness is the devil. And it's also the way you make living. I'm sure he's got some incredible stories. And we probably haven't broke bread or hung out, but I always would put him in the category of one of the good ones. One of the good ones. And he said it today. What did he say? He's like, man, I've always been a fan, and
Mm-hmm.
and some of that probably comes from, I was a lone wolf. I had your support and people helping me do what I wanted, but I was a lone wolf. I didn't care if the production wasn't as great as it could be, as long as we didn't get controlled in the art we were making.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to those podcasts that I told you guys to hold me kind of more accountable to do some more of them and explain that. But I think what Kenneth meant by he was a fan is he loves the art of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a videographer at heart, maybe a production guy at heart, because he'd get behind the camera with Primos, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he just kind of meant in general of being tough enough to make a mark.
Mm-hmm.
And whether people like what I did or was as a character or what I did in life, what I got to take responsibility for, and on the good side of what I did, I influenced hundreds of thousands of young people and old to pick up a bow and start archery.
Mm-hmm.
And if I got to look at my life's work, I would say that was number one with Arrow Affliction. You can go, hey, who's Chris Brackett? Name sounds familiar. Arrow Affliction, sideburns, stuff out of the air. Oh, that's my guy. That's my legacy. But what is it? Was it for the good? Was the legacy for the good? Was the legacy for, did it bring people together and shoot with their friends and shoot with their buddies and give them that time alone in the tree, or where they could have been at a bar, or could have been, stealing out of cars and, whatever that is. What do you think?
I agree with all of that. That's the thing I feel like I heard the most from all the years at trade shows and everything, was that you inspired them to, either them or their kid that was sitting there watching the show with them, to pick up a bow and shoot anything and everything.
What do you think that comes back to? I mean, do you think that's just, I'm sure people would like to know what you think of me, living with me, what my good stuff is, what my bad stuff is. Like, what do you know, well, just talk. Anyways,
That's for us.
thanks, Kenneth. Thank you for talking, and just the way he looked into my eyeballs and just said, I'm really proud of you, man. I don't know if people understand that when somebody slows down the clock as a quarterback in life, because you're your own quarterback. Like, God's gave you the plan and you are your own quarterback. And if you can just slow the game down, one of my favorite movies, Draft Day, if you can write on a piece of paper what your end goal is, and you can slow the game down, no matter how hard somebody's trying to mess anything up, and you can just live in that and live in that moment and slow that game down, it's a game changer. It's life, right? And so like he slowed that game down for a second,
right,
and just said, hey man, I'm proud of you.
Very sincerely.
Very sincerely. So thanks, Kenneth. Like, that made my weekend. I ran into some super cool guys yesterday too that were starting podcasts, and I actually asked them to come help me run some extra cameras and kind of teach me some stuff. I know production, but ran into those guys. Ran into some guys. I forget what their name was. I think they're out of Iowa. Save me here. Tell me something else.
Oh, what about our buddy that found all the sheds? The story,
Kenneth? Kevin.
Caller?
I don't know. It's Kevin that found all these sheds. He's not even a deer hunter. Monmouth. And I think I'm going to help him try to get something together.
That was really awesome.
Yeah. And I said, man, I don't want anything. I just know enough about marketing. I think that you have something here that you need. I think that outdoors people like me, if I stayed there for 15 minutes and listened to a story, I can't imagine how many neurotypical people would listen and want this story.
I thought the same thing. I thought, how much longer can he handle it? But you were intrigued. So
this guy he's retired. He's built to tell the story, and he loves the story. He loves the story. Yeah. I mean, he just loves it.
Well, it's a pretty incredible story.
It's a really cool story. Like, I have sheds off of a deer, but I don't have like 6 years worth of sheds off of a deer. And then to find out that it's dead and get a replica made. Now, and so if you're out there and you got a deer show, I got a guy for you. I'm going to help him put together maybe some digital art with some great creators out there and tell this story. And I think he should do some more trade shows. I think he would be a good person to do. You could call it a seminar, but I think him standing there like he did it, he told that story hundreds of times, maybe thousands this weekend. And it was a story about a deer. I would bet the rack started at 4. I think there was 6 years of it. Just a 11.5-year-old deer that was, he was born with some crazy genetics. He was kind of born with that Southern Illinois non-typical. I mean, this deer may have lived 12, 14 years. Like, he's an old deer. And it was funny because he had that little 2-year-old rack that was like, I don't know if this is the one or not. And I'm like perfect to do it. Right. It was like, did it go from there to there? No, I just found that. I just put it up there for no reason.
Oh my gosh, right.
And I was like he talked so well after that. Like, I skipped right over that from calling him out, going, what are you doing putting them up there? They're not even related. And that was fun. So, just when you think that people just don't that, I don't know, that there's not these cool stories out there. First off, when you talk deer to most people, they know everything. But to hear a guy tell this story, and you can kind of almost tell he wasn't a hunter because he didn't have that chip on his shoulder where he's competing against everybody else. Right. And he's got to be Big Johnson Charlie, and he's got to tell the biggest story with the biggest whopper and whatever. This guy was just like telling this story of finding these deer antlers in a refuge. Right. Had another funny story where the guy, he said, hey, I got these antlers. They've never really been out anywhere and they've never done whatever. And I looked at him and went, Well, I've done some work in that area, and if I, if I was a big deer, this is where I'd live. And he like looked at me with this red face as we were leaving last night, going, "That's where we found him." And I was like, "Yeah, world record sheds." And I was like,
and how many hours away is this location?
"Oh yeah, like it's like 3 hours away." And the guy like knew 100%. There's no way this guy knows. He's like, "Oh yeah, in this one county." And we having a funny conversation, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I got the antlers off of this deer." And I'm like, "I'm never sorry, man. If I can't hunt it, I don't know anything. If I can't hunt it on one of my properties that I have, I'm not that guy that's like, oh, you got a 2 hundo? I'm going to chase a giant and go to your place and then hunt it. So on that note, people tell me about big deer because they say, well, I can tell Chris Brackett, like, he's not going to come lease the ground next to me and kill it.
Right.
I think that is an advantage as a real estate agent. I think it's an advantage as a consultant. I think it's an advantage in all parts of character that just says like, yo, I can tell him, I can trust him. So this guy was like, hey man, I got this deer. And I literally went, well, if I was a giant deer in that area, this is where I'd live. And he'd be like, that's where we found it. And his face was red. So it's at the end of the show. I really appreciate my wife being here, Miss Jodi Brackett. Do you want to tell? Do you want to tell about our sponsor? So we have two, Herman Brothers Realty, and they made the initial little, investment here for me to buy the equipment. So we thank them. We're both brokers. If you're wanting somebody in Illinois to represent you, we would love to sell your farm right now because we have sold everything that we have. One, you can call Miss Jodi there and she can represent you, or myself or us as a team, Danny and his wife. So Herman Brothers Realty, Herman Brothers Fisheries, which is also in the family of Herman Brothers. Did you hear about the uplands?
No.
So the old Norris Lake that we sold and then fell through, and the Hermans re-ingested it, has just become one of the most unbelievable wedding venues in central Illinois that you have ever seen. I'm about ready to show you the pictures. So how big is that lake on that listing that we had? Because the only reason we know this is because of the listing we had. Go ahead. Do you know how big that lake is?
I thought it was like 40 acres. Is that right?
It's pretty close. It's a big one. Tell us a little bit about that Norris Lake and what was going on there. And I'm going to find this for you.
Okay. You're asking a lot because it wasn't my listing.
Yeah. But do you remember going there?
No.
You don't?
I don't think. Okay.
So this is the fun part about my marriage, guys.
I know you tell me over and over that I've gone there, but I didn't remember going.
Do you remember swinging off the rope swing?
No.
Do you remember snorkeling where the fish bit my nipple?
No.
Do you remember the story of the fish biting my nipple?
Yeah, I remember the video too.
Okay, the video. All right. Well, I'm going to show you these pictures. So this is called, let me read it. 7 miles north of the Giant Goose Ranch, which is our campground that we work with Hermans. We are excited to open the new wedding venue, family reunion, church camp, and retreat rental property. It's called the Uplands and sits right outside the town of Norris, Illinois. The event center has full court gym, sleeps 50 people, which sits overlooking a 30-acre private lake and right next to 10-bedroom lodge, which sleeps 45 people. It's still all under construction, but our first wedding is scheduled for May 18th, and our first church camp is May 31st, and our first family reunion is July 12th. Might have been too much information, but I'm glad you're thorough. I'm just giving a hard time because they're some of my best buds. So look up the uplandnorris.com for more information.
That was loud.
So these pictures, look through these pictures. I cannot believe. So I haven't seen most of my friends. Go ahead and grab it with your little hands there. I haven't seen Chad or Justin or Nate or any of the Hermans in 3
Wow.
months, because that's all they've been doing is building this new venue. The uplandsnorris.com. That is where we are going to. We're going to hold some outdoor events where we do some days in the field, some fishing events, some seminars, and some land life stuff. Chad is on me right now to go, listen, man, this thing is not only going to be a wedding venue and going to be a place for people to gather, but you are going to use it to teach men and teach people about land and real estate. And you're going to use it as your advantage.
Wow.
For our mission statement, Land Life. So check that out, guys.
Super exciting.
Go to Herman Brothers Realty and Lake and Fisheries site on Facebook and Instagram. Check out our page on Chris Brackett's Land Life on Instagram, Facebook. Give us a like, share our stuff. Be looking for the new podcasts. And our main shout out this week is our very first sponsor. And that is White Gold Seed. They are our first official sponsor for the show, our first teammate, our first monetary spend with us to continue this great siege where I love talking to broken men like myself about what the Lord has in store for them and what the ground has in store for their food plots and how to grow whitetails and how to build equity in your farms. White gold is kind of in shed season right now. What we're after, white gold is, deer antlers. White gold is out of Michigan. It's you can go to whitegolddeerfeed.com. We have 3 new blends. The first blend that I'm more excited about, especially going into a drought year. Like, we're already in a drought. I don't know if you guys know that. Going into a drought, you're going to have a tough mushroom season. You're going to have a tough growing year for corn and beans. And on years like that, you're going to be looking at something from White Gold like what we just decided to make, which was one of my favorite blends, which is October Magic. October Magic is sorghum, peas, beans, radish, all put together, planted in April and May, having an incredible drawing power to whitetail bucks come October. Like walking through alfalfa and clover to get the heads of the sorghum, and then having beans and peas for later, and then being able to have, even after all of those are eaten, you're going to have the leftover radishes, and which is a brassica plant, and in there. So October rush, if you guys you better start planting. Like, I know it's going to be really really rough year as far as water. I mean, all the almanacs are saying it, whatever. So sorghum will grow through a drought. So be looking at that. That's going to be a great blend for you. It's also a great soil builder because everything there is putting nitrogen into the ground. Even if you had to mow it all down and rip it up, it's going to be a good soil builder. It's going to have a big kind of canopy on it with the, with the sorghum growing up and the beans growing up. It's going to starve out a lot of weeds. I get a lot of questions like, how do you control weeds in it? All right, well, till up the ground, let the weeds kind of grow, and then burn them down one time and immediately plant it right after that. Watch using 2,4-D. Don't use that. Use Gly, Roundup. Smoke it hot, and then put this straight in the ground, seal it up, and let it get up out of the ground. Make sure you're fertilizing lime good. It's going to like a lot of nitrogen because it's got the sorghum in there, but the soybeans are going to produce nitrogen for the plants as well. So that is going to be October Magic. If you are not buying Clover Rush right now and getting ready for Clover Rush and Gold Strike, Strike Force, Gold Strike, it's the alfalfa blend. Why can't I always Gold Strike? I think Gold Strike. This is where you just say, I don't know, but it's great.
I don't know, but it's great.
I don't know. Why do I want to see Strike Force? I don't remember that. I really think it's Gold Strike. And the only difference between Clover Rush, which is the big clovers that you love hunting in behind your dad's.
Mm-hmm.
That big, beautiful white clover, big
Mm-hmm.
leaves, that's clover rush. And then we created one that had alfalfa in it because as big a taproot as that alfalfa will hold in the drought years, it'll grow like a 6-7 foot taproot and it'll survive. So I wanted to have those guys make one that was like had the clover rush but had some alfalfa in it, and I like to combine those two and then frost seed right now. So for the next month, it's a great time to frost seed. That means just throw it down in your other plots and then let it grow and let it germinate as you get some freezing and thawing. I think in like 4 days, we got another 25-degree night. I'm hoping it doesn't zap some of our frost-seeded clover already, but I think it should be fine. And you're going to have a beautiful plot coming into the year, and you can give it a little IMOX and clean it up, but you don't have to mow clover a lot. All of this seed and even switchgrass for all you guys wanting to get in the switchgrass game, giving you some soft edges. Take the first 10, 15 feet and make them soft edges around your timber. The number of animals that will go in the Fort Knox switchgrass edges. Picture walking down the middle of a field and the deer that are in the timber can't see out and you can't see in. How many more deer are going to stay in your timber? Quite a bit. You're going to up your deer numbers by adding these 10 to 15 to 30 foot or 10 yard edges put into Fort Knox switchgrass, which you can get at White Gold. And then Claim Jumper. Claim Jumper is going to be a awesome blend. It's kind of radish heavy with some collard greens that you add to your favorite brassica blend. And, we appreciate White Gold. Go to whitegolddeerfeed.com and check them out. The reason that there are guys they're just guys like us that believe in quality, high-class seed. And what that means is it's fresh. We don't carry it over. Those guys don't carry it over. They're just some Michigan guys that bought a mill and decided to make some feed and some mineral and some seeds. And they're just good guys, and they can deliver straight wherever you're at in the country. They'll deliver straight to your door. There's a lot of seeds out there that I can buy fresh. I can go down to Kelly Seed or whatever, this and that. But this is the only way that I can tell a guy in Oregon, I can tell a guy in Texas, I can tell a guy in Missouri that he can say like, hey, just go here. It might be a little more expensive. This isn't your bargain seed. Right. This is high quality H2O. The water boy reference, by the way. High quality. My mama said that this is a high quality H2O. High quality seed from White Gold. White Gold deer feed. It's a big deal. This is the vision. 10 people like this, make this very high production, would have production people in here doing this right now, right behind the camera. And I would rip out more of these to come in and talk about real stuff and to get more content. This is what we're looking for. Shout out to Bordeaux Brothers up there in Vermont, Cubby and them. I give them a shout out all the time. They make a lot of stuff possible for us to get to hear. And we'd love to see that relationship. We got to reach out to them soon. And I got to go cook you a steak. Is there anything that you want to tell people in life? I know you don't. I know you don't get out of your. We all have problems. We all are in the book. We all are either autistic or something else or whatever. You battle in life a little bit, being in a box. Your identity of us being in a caretaker role with our mothers and our family because we care so much was not what we had designed in the cards. We wanted to be husband and wife and mothers and fathers and raise our children, and that's just not the plan for us. What do you have to say to people out there that are battling, staying married? What does the gospel say? What do you have a message for the men or the women out there that, with the podcast Land Life, I always talk to the broken men. What do you have to say to just the broken people or the people that are looking for a word of encouragement this week? whether it be in the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
where you are at a constant battle right now with your mother, caretaking your mother, and being a wife at home. And what do I tell you? I'm built different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to stray.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work. I'm going to make us money. I'm going to take care of the people that we have in our circle, right? And
Yep.
so with that covered, what do you have to say to people out there? Like, this is your platform.
Well, the question was very long and went multiple directions, but I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of people broken out there. I think everybody is broken on
We are.
one level or another, or at different points in our lives. But I did not come to know Christ as my Savior until later in life. And I don't know how I made it through life without him for as long as I did.
Favored.
Yeah, I see his fingerprints all over my life, even prior to being saved and turning my life over to him. But that is the greatest advice I can give. It's the only thing I really care to share with people that will last for eternity. Because you can't fix yourself, and you'll never be perfect and healed in this life. But if you turn your life over to him, you will be healed when you pass through this life and
when you
go on
die
to heaven. Yeah.
Because your body's going to be worm food.
Right.
What do we got? What do we got if we don't have him?
Well,
your question this week was, what are you and your mom living for?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because clearly my mission in life is to talk to these people.
Mm-hmm.
And my mission in life is to sell $1 million farms because they're going to buy them anyways.
Right.
$100,000 farms because they're going to buy them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to educate them the best, and I'm going to be their realtor. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Along that way, for years, whether it takes them a long time to go, hey, I need to save $100 a month to one day I have that down payment on that farm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to inspire them and say, like, if I can buy a farm with you and we can make it through what we make it through, then God's going to move that mountain. Do you have to
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice? What's that sacrifice? Not to go throw money in a slot machine or whatever that is, right?
Right.
And so with firing people up to do that,
Mm-hmm.
I know my mission is to do what we did today.
Mm-hmm.
Just buy a call from a guy that's trying to live a dream.
Right.
Have a moment with a Kenneth Lancaster that says, man, it was cool in the industry while we had it,
Mm-hmm.
but life's bigger than that, ain't it?
Right.
And there's a couple of us that are still the good guys,
Mm-hmm.
whether the other ones care or not, but we're on our own path and we're the own lone wolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's where I'm at, and I ask you, you and your mom live for each other, whether you were able to, when you get married, you're supposed to leave and cleave.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have been one of the hardest requests that God ever had written for you to follow, which was to leave and cleave somebody that you love and you're the only child,
Mm-hmm.
and that you guys have taken care of each other and enabled each other and loved each other on this earth. How does that look for anybody that's going through what we're going through, which are mothers that are in not the best season of their health,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with mortality? All of us are, and dealing with the fact that we lose each other on this earth, but gain each other in heaven to be at the feet of Christ and at our Creator, Yahweh. What do you have to say to anybody going through the season that we're going through? Because I think there's a lot of people that would bury their head with children and jobs,
Mm-hmm.
that then they can't pay attention to the mothers or the fathers or the elderly or
Mm-hmm.
somebody. Where do you, because you're struggling with balance
Mm-hmm.
between your marriage, no kids, so we don't even have to complicate that.
Right.
I'm a working son of a gun.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I find my joy.
Mm-hmm.
You are wrestling right now with just being a daughter and a wife.
Yep.
Where are you at? How can you help somebody out there that's wrestling with some of this stuff? There's got to be
I got to think about that a little bit, but for me, it's really simple. She's 80 on Christmas Day.
She's awesome.
She has cared for others her entire life, including me. Took care of her own mother, bedridden from a stroke for 3.5 years while I had just turned a year old, and my dad had just become disabled from a terrible construction accident.
She's
to me,
born caregiver.
She is 100%, 100%. Okay. One of 5 kids, pitched in as the second mom, caring for all of them. So for me, it's really simple. It's what I watched her do for everyone in her life. And there's no way that, hopefully you agree with it and you've been really gracious and supportive of me. But it'd take a lot I would not be willing or able to just let her not be cared for.
Right.
And so I will lay down my life in terms of not having a successful career like I may have had in the past, or having the title on my business card. I mean, I still have that for Herman Brothers, but that not being my identity, I'm privileged to be able to care for her the way that I believe she should be.
Well, on our first go round of our relationship, we wouldn't be here and you wouldn't be doing that, because I would not have put God first in my life.
Right.
And I would have not have said, listen, I may resent the fact that you're not here every night. I may be lonely, but I'm lonely because even when you're here with me, you want to be with her. And I think I just want to have you talk about this a little bit, to say, if you're watching this and you're dealing with some of this stuff, you're not alone. This is in all of our lives where we put our time and our effort. But just being able to bring this to light and talk about it, that's what he wants, you know.
But I don't want, just to be clear, the only time I really want to be there with her, sometimes to make sure she's got time with me, because I know this life is brief for all of us. But if I know she needs me, if I'm concerned for her well-being, like it has been over the last couple weeks, then that's when I would kind of be torn. Well, but for the most part, I'm good here. You know that.
Hold on a second.
Being home.
You're good here now. What?
I'm here? Good when I'm home. I'm home. As long as I don't think that something's going on.
Yeah, but you're getting in my way.
Right.
Because you're there mentally.
Right.
And so I'm not throwing you under the bus with this. I'm just trying to tell people out there that are watching going, yeah, I don't know what to do too. So all you're doing is the best that you can, and you're spending time with her. You have a husband saying, go spend time with her as much as you can. If something happens to me, I'll see you in heaven. And we have that relationship, right? Right.
Oh my gosh. So that's something I did with my dad as a kid, and we've embraced it.
So
actually as an adult too.
Yeah, because he's still a kid. Even in heaven, he's still a kid. And so are you. You're still a kid. You still look like you just graduated high school. And me, I look like a Santa Claus with a white beard. But we're in two different places. You're a caretaker after your mom's own heart. And I'm a provider and a protector. And
I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
And I know that we're favored by God. I know we're favored for these opportunities. I know that if everything wouldn't have happened to me, I would never be here. 1, married to you. Number 2, here for you to be able to provide so you can go be with her. And then for me to try to balance going on the consults. I'm going to Tennessee this week.
Brandon will be happy to hear that, because he texted me to see if I got that figured out.
Brandon, I'm really sorry. I never imagined that March 8th, 9th, and 10th, it would be 60 plus degrees. It's really kind of thrown off my schedule for spring and trying to do these. So, okay, Brandon, I have the dates. We hadn't texted you yet. So I headed there. I know April we're going to Wisconsin, but I'm in a different place where I am with my mom, because she's the one dealing with cancer, and she is in a place where she's dealt with mortality, and she's got to a place where you're at with your mom is it's like, well, it's not really supposed to be life threatening, but you're dealing with arterial stuff and big surgeries and pain. And it's not like, oh, well, you have cancer and this is going to progress and this is what's going to happen. And you're in a place where you're like, I don't know the decisions to make. The doctor says, Jodi, go home. We got her. And you make a decision to go, no, I'm not leaving her side. Mm-mm. And I'm just letting you know that people out there, even though you love Jesus sometimes, my wife loves Jesus. She can tell you a lot of left brain, exactly what it says in the Bible, but her following it, not really wanting to give up big control. And what do you do as a husband? You get mad, you get resentful, or you just like, you're silly. I'm at the silly phase. I'm at the, why do we kid ourselves? Go be with her. Go make these bad decisions. God will take care of it. And then, you wear yourself out. And there's a lot of women out there that these men are trying to get an insight into how to be husbands about some of this stuff. And I get really fired up and mad because you kind of come home and you're not really here, but I need you to just communicate, right? Like that's what we all strive for. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and going, well, they sound like us. What do I tell you? What's the only problem we have?
Communication.
One of us likes to talk a lot. The other one likes to just stare at the other one while the other one communicates. And that's not good. But we're not giving up. We're here. We're blessed by God. We're favored by him. We love him. We know what his word says. We rely on what the word says. Mm-hmm. I rely on the fact that if one of the most healthy relationships I probably have in my life is my mom. That right now, if either one of us were to not see tomorrow, we would rejoice in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if there's another place that I would have never imagined me getting to. And with me and my mom going, what? And, I strive for us to be there. I think a lot of times when you go be with your mom and you're trying to figure out that relationship, there's a lot of times where you're like, I'd miss that big guy, but I'm good. If he was to die on a trip or a tractor flipped over or whatever, would you be good? You'd be sad.
I'd be very sad, but I'd know where you went.
It'd be good. You'd be like, oh, he's not in pain anymore.
That's for sure.
Man, we sure appreciate y'all. We sure appreciate White Gold. We appreciate any partners coming on to help make this happen. I need to hear a round of applause for Aunt Jodi being in the game with us today. I really enjoyed it. I mean, she's my best friend. She's my wife. She has to deal with me every single day. And I wish she was on this podcast more often because I know that you feel the same way I do, that she would be a great addition to insight into life, into hunting, into she's cute. She's pretty fun to look at. If we could get her more comfortable, she would be one of the greatest assets to the world that this world has ever seen, to be able to tell and unlock the potential in her brain and what she's gone through. And she really has a servant's heart. Honey, I love you. I really appreciate you. This is Land Life with Chris Brackett. And got anything else to say?
Yep. Advice. Husbands and wives both read 1 Peter chapter 3.
What's it say? Overview.
Well, it talks about how a wife is to honor her husband and obey him, even if he's not obeying the word, so that basically that will reveal. Now you're putting me on the spot.
That sacrifice.
No, it is to be godly in order to lead him to Christ if he's not a believer. For the husband, it's very straightforward, and that's to be live with your wife in an understanding way so that your prayers will not be hindered. Okay. So it's better for them to just go and read it instead of asking me to explain it.
No, I mean, that was a great explanation. You don't have to be perfect.
This might be good. This
you
might be
married
good for me then.
imperfection. You married imperfection. So, okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Say bye, Jodi.
Bye.
Bye, Jodi.